On today's episode of Locked On Mariners, we'll tell you why, contrary to the belief of some, Julio Rodriguez is not overpaid. What are we talking about? Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025. This is Teddy Gonzalez and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. And as always, if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, you can check out our Patreon. All you have to do to check that out is click the link in the description of this episode. So on today's show, we're going to talk about the Mariners finally doing the right thing and announcing that they're going to retire Randy Johnson's number 51 next year. We'll also get you set for the M series with the Orioles starting tonight. But first, Colby, you put out a very interesting set of polls from our Twitter account the other night, and I found the results of those polls fascinating. Could you tell us a little bit more about them?
Friday, I don't know, it was Friday night or Saturday. I don't remember the exact day or whatever.
Yeah.
I was looking at the active WAR leaders in baseball, and I couldn't help but notice that Julio Rodriguez and Cal Raleigh were basically tied at that point, and they had played roughly the same number of games. They had roughly the same number of plate appearances, and they had roughly the same overall value. And I thought that was interesting, and it does seem like, to us at least, the comments that we get and that we see, Julio is somehow a massive disappointment, and Cal Raleigh is the best thing that ever happened to Mariners baseball. And so, yeah, I thought it might be interesting to just throw some basic numbers out there, and numbers I think give you a pretty good snapshot of who a player is. I mean, they're not everything. Obviously, you can't fit every relevant statistic into a tweet. But yeah, I threw out the games, the at bats, the batting average, the triple slashes, the WRC pluses, all that stuff. Yeah. And I just wanted to see which players would prefer, or people would prefer to have without having a name on them. And then, part two of the experiment is people vote on that. And the next day you put out a poll and you put names to it. And you simply ask, would you rather have Cal Raleigh or would you rather have Julio Rodriguez? Or you try to find a way to word it that it makes sense. And also you turn off the comments because you're not looking for a debate. You're looking for some data here. So the results, I don't want to say I can't say they were all that surprising. I will say the Cal Julio, the statement question was closer than I would have anticipated, with Cal coming off of the weekend that he just had. So I guess kudos on that. But the overall experiment was a little bit eye-opening.
So the first poll that you put out, again, this was no names tied to it, just stats. You said, quick question for Mariners fans. Who would you rather have? Player A, 520 games played, 2004 plate appearances, 223, 306, 464 slash line in their career, 120 WRC plus, 17.5 F4. Or player B, 485 games played, 2,137 plate appearances, 273, 331, 461 career slash line, 128 WRC plus, 17.3 F4. I think we can kind of agree here that those numbers, offensively speaking, are just way better than player A's numbers, right? And so naturally, and you, by the way, you added both players play great to elite defense at premium positions. So naturally, player B got 87% of the votes. There were 447 people who voted on this poll. So player A only got 13%. Then the next day, you put out another poll saying, probably not asking this at the right time, but based on all the info we have right now, if you had to pick one player to have for the rest of their careers, who are you taking? Cal Raleigh or Julio Rodriguez? Cal Raleigh won that poll 53.9% to 46.1%. 458 people voted on that poll. So pretty much the same exact number as the other poll. But player B in the anonymous poll was Julio Rodriguez. 87% picked Julio in that poll, but only 46% picked him when he was actually named. Colby, I think we're at the point now where Julio discourse is just the ball knower litmus test. Because, like, look, there are absolutely things to critique about Julio's game. Don't get me wrong. I actually have a couple that I'll get into in a second. But if you think Julio Rodriguez is overpaid, you don't know ball. All right. We're talking about a 24-year-old who's already worth 17.5 F4 through the first 3 1/3 seasons of his career. He's about to surpass Cal for the most home runs by a Mariner ever in their first 4 seasons. And on top of that, like you mentioned in that poll, he plays Gold Glove defense at one of the most premium positions in the sport. And, you know, there's all this talk about him in the clutch. And look, I've even been hard on Julio at times for not coming up late in games. But this year, we've seen him come through in some big spots. The home run against the A's in April, the 2 doubles against Brian Abreu and the Astros. And, you know, when you look at the numbers in those situations, he's once again been great. So in what Fangraphs considers high leverage situations this year, Julio is slashing 290, 371, 548 with 4 extra base hits and 12 runs driven in. Perhaps the most encouraging thing here, though, is that his strikeout rate in those moments is only 14.3%. Last year, it was 24.1%. So basically a 10% decrease in strikeout rate in the biggest moments of the game. The year before that, it was 25%. And then in his rookie year, it was 27.5%. So we are seeing Julio mature at the plate. That's happening. That's passed the eye test and the numbers support it. And so that's how I know that, you know, the people saying Julio is overpaid and he's this and he's that have no idea what they're looking at and no idea what they're talking about. None. Absolutely none. Now, look, Julio this year, the problem is his hard hit rate and his barrel percentage are below his career norms. He needs to generate more quality contact. We can absolutely critique that part of Julio's game. That's why his BABIP is basically 60 points below his career average. And he's also been a bit unlucky. But look, we all want him to be Aaron Judge. I get it. But Aaron Judge's salary is exactly twice as much as Julio's. So the Mariners are not paying for Aaron Judge level production, right? They're not paying Soto money. Like, let's just bring up the top paid position players in baseball right now. They're not paying Soto money. They're not paying Rendon money. Correa, Trout, Altuve, Seager, Lindor, Stanton, Alonso, Arenado, Guerrero, Ohtani, Swanson, Bellinger, Turner, Bryant, Devers, Mookie, Semien, Bogarts, Chapman, Baez, Yelich, Story, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? And Julio is objectively better than a lot of those dudes I just named. So not overpaid, not even close. You don't even know what that means. So in the discussion, learn ball. So we are going to switch gears here. We're going to talk about Randy Johnson, who's officially going to have his number 51 retired in Seattle next year. In just a moment, but first a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is a reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast for instant reactions following every Mariners game. Be sure to tune in to the Mariners postcast with Anderson Hurst and Christopher Crawford, available on both the Locked On Mariners YouTube and podcast feeds. So if you watched or listened to yesterday's episode, or you follow us on our socials, you probably already know that we have launched our latest fundraiser for Feeding America. And we set a goal at the start of yesterday for $2,500. We have already raised $1,500 in about a little under 24 hours since that episode got posted, from the time of this recording, at least. So I want to give a huge shout out to, well, first and foremost, we have a bunch of anonymous donors, but also Dalton, Rex, let's see here, Ryan, Alex, Charlie, Cooper, Andrew, who came through with a $250 donation. That's our highest so far. Brandon with 100, Aaron with 40, Peter with 50, Tim, Gigi, Freddie, and Vaughn. And again, all those anonymous donors as well. Thank you guys so much for your generosity. It is incredibly appreciated. You guys are awesome. So Colby, if anyone missed yesterday's show or they haven't seen the social posts, tell the folks here what we got going on, what Feeding America is all about, and all that good stuff.
Well, Feeding America's mission statement is to feed America.
That's right.
We right now, 1 in 5 children are food insecure. They don't know where their next meal is coming from. More than 50 million Americans are food insecure. They have no idea where their next meal is going to come from. And with the rising cost of groceries and with school about to be out for the year, a lot of kids are also losing access to their one meal that they could count on a daily basis. So it feels like a great time to help some people out and feed some families and feed some kids who desperately need it. So yeah, the great thing about Feeding America is that they work with distributors and other businesses to buy a lot of food for very low prices. And so for every dollar that is raised by Feeding America, they can turn that into 10 meals to give to people who are facing food insecurity. So it's an incredible bang for your buck. We really like working with them because we get a lot of impact over it. Just yesterday, you guys raised 15,000 meals for people who need them. And it doesn't get any better than that return. So, it's a great charity. They do really cool things. And the fact that, you can donate $1 and feed 10 people really is just incredible. So yeah, there will be a link in the description of all the postings. And you just click on the link. You can donate however much or however little you want. You can be anonymous. You can put your name on it. Doesn't matter. And we are also, Ty and I are also chipping in. If you guys want to help out, but you don't have the extra money right now, totally fine. We understand. But if you do want to help out, if you hit the subscribe button here on the YouTube channel, Ty and I will donate 10 cents for every new subscriber. And I think we got about 20-ish yesterday. So
yeah, so that's 20 meals right there.
Right there. Yep. So every new subscriber is a free meal. Every $1 that you guys donate is 10 meals to somebody or to people who desperately need it. And so last year or 2 years ago now, about when we did this, we got up to 15,000.
We've actually added 33 new subscribers, by the way. I just checked.
There we go.
Yeah. So that's 33 meals right there.
So yeah, last time we did this, we got 15,000 donation or dollars, which is 150,000 meals. Can we do that again? I don't know. We got like a couple of massive donations at the end of last year, 5,000 and I think like a 3,000. But we're gonna give it a shot, do our best, and we set the goal much higher this time around than we did last time. We'll see if we get there, but we're already more than halfway there, and we just want to see how far we can take this thing. So. Again, thank you all for your generosity so far. Tell your family, tell your friends to help out. And again, it feels like a perfect time to start raising money for this with everything that's going on at this time of the year. So again, tell your friends to subscribe and donate if they can and all of that stuff. And we'll see how many meals we can raise. Ty and I are still talking through some potential milestone incentives, but we don't have anything set in stone there yet. But yeah, we're just trying to see how far we can get, and I don't know what the number is going to end up being, but we're excited to see. And $1,500 is in day one is pretty impressive. This will run to the All-Star break, so about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
We're going to see how far we can take this thing.
So thank you guys again for your generosity. Thank you. If you are planning on donating, we'll be sure to give you all shout outs if you do donate on a future episode. So thank you. All right. So yesterday, before we recorded Mailbag Monday, the Mariners made an announcement, really kind of important announcement here, something that we weren't sure was ever going to happen. They are going to, in fact, retire Randy Johnson's number 51 next year. They're obviously going to retire Ichiro's 51 later this summer once he's inducted into the Hall of Fame. So this was obviously something that you and I, we've talked about this on this show. We've talked about it on CTZ. This was something that we felt like they needed to do, along with, some other things that they haven't done yet and haven't announced yet, like putting Rick Riz in the Mariners Hall of Fame. They should absolutely do that. But putting Randy or retiring Randy's number was just something that you had to do, no matter what the relationship was, no matter how things ended, no matter the fact that he went into the Hall of Fame with a Diamondbacks hat on, no matter any of that stuff. Randy Johnson's one of the most iconic Mariners of all time. You should absolutely have his jersey number retired. Doesn't matter that there's 251s. The Yankees have retired the same number multiple times. Doesn't matter. I've seen some people out there, not a lot of people, but some people out there just kind of overcomplicating this situation. What does this mean for Randy? What does this mean for Ichiro? Whatever. At the end of the day, this is the right thing to do. This is a great thing to do. I'm glad that they're doing it. So yeah, what do you think about retiring Randy's number?
I think it's a travesty. No, Randy is, arguably the best pitcher in franchise history. I would say he is probably not as beloved as Felix, but whatever. I think Randy's a little better, and Randy's also arguably the best left-handed pitcher who's ever lived.
Yeah,
and the fact that the Mariners put themselves in a position where they had soured this relationship so poorly with one of their most important players was an indictment on them and mostly the previous regime with Howard Lincoln and Chuck Armstrong at the helm. So it's nice to see them finally try and put the past in the past. Obviously, this is something that he would have to sign off on and all that. It does sound like the Mariners maybe approached him about this sooner than we'd think, and he had mentioned something not wanting to overshadow Ichiro's inevitable moment. So I don't know how, maybe was it a couple years ago they tried this, or was it
right.
just, hey, do you want to do it this summer, like a joint thing, or do you want to do it separate day this summer, blah blah. I don't know, but Randy apparently said in his little presser that he did that he didn't want to overshadow Ichiro. He didn't think that was fair. So yeah, it's obviously great. The Mariner, like, people take things like Team Hall of Fame and jersey retirements way too seriously. They're just fun things, and they're a great way to honor really important players and great players. And so Randy's in the Hall of Fame, and even though he's not in the Hall of Fame as a Mariner, he pitched half of his career here, and he was, one of your best ever players, top 5, top 6 player of all time at this franchise. And it was absurd that his number wasn't retired already. So it's great that they're finally doing it. Better late than never. But yeah, I don't understand anybody who would have a problem with this or have a concern about what it means for each. Nothing. It means nothing. Like, it is not a big deal. The Yankees have multiple numbers retired by 2 people. The Cubs have, I think, number 31 is retired for both Maddox and Fergie Jenkins. Like, I think the A's have multiple. Like, a lot of teams have this. It's not a big deal. And even if you were the first team to do this, who cares? Yeah. Why would you not want to honor Ichiro and Randy Johnson just because they wore the same number? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So I'm happy they got this done, and I'm happy that a vast majority of the people, the response was, this is awesome. Well, long past due. And there's just a few concerned trolls and a few people who just take this stuff way, way too seriously, who were upset by the way they did it. But I think it makes a lot of sense. It's interesting they announced it a year in advance. So, well, we all know what's going to happen. And next year, I hope this doesn't push Rick Riz back another year, but let's get that done next, shall we?
Yes.
Put Riz in the Mariners Hall of Fame, and then we can start doing the fun stuff like Seager, like Nelly, hopefully Cammy, and really start to build that thing out. The Mariners, I know it's not a big history of winning, but there are some substantial players that this team has yet to honor, and hopefully this is the first step in that direction. So. It's great. It's well earned, and I hope this is the, another step in mending the relationship between the Mariners franchise and Randy Johnson. And make no mistake, the Mariners did Randy Johnson dirty back in the late 90s. So again, it's been 25 plus years now. It's time to embrace this and move on. And I'm glad they're finally doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. So question for you guys down in the comments. We've talked about getting Rick Riz in the Mariners Hall of Fame, Nelson Cruz, Mike Cameron, all that. Do you want to see Robinson Cano in the Mariners Hall of Fame? I think this is kind of a controversial topic, maybe. I think there's going to be a lot of different opinions on this. I'm on the side of, yeah, you absolutely should. Yes, it ended with the PED suspension and all that stuff, but Robinson Cano is one of the greatest Mariners over the last 15 years.
Also, not for nothing, it feels a little weird if you were to put Nelson Cruz in, but not Cano. And the reason for Cano is because of the PED stuff. Yeah. I don't care that either one did it, to be clear, but it did both.
But it's like,
so
I guess because Robinson's suspension came while he was with the Mariners, whereas Nelly's, I don't know.
Again, whatever. People take this stuff way too serious. And by the way, the biggest injustice is that Rick Riz is not in the Mariners Hall of Fame.
100%.
But the lack of evidence that Alex Rodriguez ever played for your franchise is mind-boggling.
Yeah,
it's mind-boggling.
Yeah,
grow up.
Yeah.
If you're mad, I don't want to.
You didn't pay for
the money.
You didn't pay for him. You didn't pay for him. You didn't
chose not
pony
to
up.
pay him.
Yeah.
Grow up.
Yeah. We're not going to buy this whole thing that he just left for the money. Yeah, it was because you were cheap.
Yeah.
You didn't want to pay for a superstar.
Your offer was $3 and $70 million. The Rangers' offer was $10 and $250. Grow up.
Yeah.
You screwed up.
Yeah, exactly.
I know he said I wouldn't leave for the money. Grow up. He did.
Yeah.
It's time for you to do it too. Yeah. Start putting these guys in the Hall of Fame. It's not that big of a deal. Get these guys in there and celebrate your history.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Also, by the way, side note, Mitch Haniger, Mariner Hall of Famer?
Let us know in the comments. I'd put him in. I love Mitch. And I'm not, I'm not going to gatekeep. I don't care. No. Like Mitch Haniger is a significant Mariner in the history
Mariners
of the organization.
They want in the Hall of Fame, and I'm not going to be because they're not going to do it like Eric Bedard's going in. No. There's some guys where I'm like, okay, no, but Mitch Haniger,
they
absolutely. Put Franklin Gutierrez in there,
hell yeah, put Goody in. Why not?
Yeah, Goody only played 300 games. Fine, whatever. Goody's awesome. Put him in there.
You love Goody. Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah. All right. So the Orioles are coming to town. 3-game set starting tonight. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use promo code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. 50% off your first year. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. The Baltimore Orioles are coming to town for 3 starting tonight as the Mariners wrap up this homestand. They're 3-3 so far on this homestand, following a really big series win over the Twins on the weekend, a series win that they just absolutely needed. We absolutely needed as well, and just as fans, especially after the way that those the final game against the Nationals and then the first game of the Twin series went. Orioles, pretty interesting team here when it comes to the Mariners, because these are 2 teams that might link up on a trade here in the next month or so. We'll see. So, maybe some guys to keep an eye on, like Ryan O'Hearn, Ramon Arias, guys like that. Tonight, it's going to be George Kirby taking the bump for the M's. His first 2 starts have not gone particularly great since he's returned from the IL. So, and this is an Orioles team that he has both dominated and struggled against. There hasn't really been a whole lot of middle ground for George Kirby against the Baltimore Orioles in his career. What do you think about Kirby heading into this start?
It's hard to be filled with a lot of confidence based off how his last 2 starts went and how he pretty much fell apart at the exact same time in both starts. So it's not feeling great. But it is George Kirby. We know he's better than this. And so you have to figure at some point he'll get back in the groove of things. And I mean, tonight is as good a night as any. But yeah, we'll see. Again, arguably George's best regular season start of his career came against the Orioles a few years ago. And also arguably like his worst start of his career came against the Orioles. So yeah, we know what their game plan is going to be. They're going to try and get on the fastball really early, and they're going to try and attack as George also attacks, and so we'll see whose game plan comes out on top of tonight's game. But it'd be great. I mean, I know you just had the day off, but it would be incredible if George could go at least 5, but maybe even 6 innings tonight. Bullpen got used pretty hard over the last 4 or 5 days, and even with the day off, it still would be nice to not have to, cover 5-6 innings again, they've had to the last couple starts. So at the very least, I hope George can get deeper into this game. But I don't have a feel for where he's at and how he's going to perform. Again, those first 2 outings shouldn't fill you with a lot of confidence, but his entire career would say he's way better than this. And at some point he's going to lock in here. So why wouldn't it be against, the second worst team in the American League record wise? So yeah, we'll see. I don't have a great feel for it. I don't feel super confident about it, but it's going to happen at some point. So it definitely could be tonight.
So again, I mentioned that, these 2 teams, they might link up on a trade later this summer. We'll see. But yeah, like Ryan O'Hearn, Ramon Arias, guys like that we've talked about. Anyone else that maybe you're watching just to, because I don't know how much you've watched the Orioles, if at all, this year.
I mean, like Cedric Mullins, but he is on the IL. He's not going to play.
He's hurt right now. Yeah.
But he would be a guy. It's I think Jordan Westberg's also still hurt.
Yep. He's I think he just started his rehab assignment, if I'm not mistaken.
So maybe probably comes back after the series. But I mean, like the Orioles, we talked about this. They're not as great of a fit as a lot of people assume they are. But they do have some rentals that do make some sense. Ryan Mountcastle, possibly. But I think
Colby Calder is back. He just got activated yesterday. So Colton Calder's back in the lineup for them.
Sure. I mean, I think Mullins, I think Westberg is probably not. It's probably more of a pipe dream with him, but we talked a lot about the Uriases and now the O'Hearn. We'll talk about him a lot this summer as well. I don't think there's a tremendous fit here for more than 1 or 2 guys. I've never been a Heston Kierstad guy. Really, I don't think he helps you all that much. You're not getting Mayo. You're obviously not getting, Gunner. And why would you want to downgrade at backup catcher by acquiring Adley Rutschman anyways? So it's one of those things where it's like, there's really not a ton here. Maybe a couple bullpen guys could surprise you. I threw out the idea, I don't know, a month ago on CTZ, I think, about what if Felix Bautista is available this summer? Maybe. You need some bullpen help. So, but yeah, I mean, it's mostly O'Hearn, probably Urias. And because Mullins is out, it's probably just those two guys, really.
Yeah. Adley Rutschman, man. 203, 300, 332, the slash line, 86 WRC plus.
I'm totally ready for him to hit like 3 home runs this week, and
Sure.
Orioles fans will be like, he's so much better than Cal Raleigh. And it's like,
no.
Only if you're stupid.
They're not even in the same universe as one another.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the Orioles, I mean, you're really not interested in any of their pitching. Whatever. I mean, look, they're still a really talented team who is definitely underperforming right now, but their record is what their record is. Like, it's not an accident that their pitching is terrible. But you do face Sagano tonight, who's definitely been their best guy. So we'll see how the series goes. You definitely feel like you need to win this series, especially since you dropped the one against the Nationals. So we'll see how it goes. And yeah, there are a couple guys who, could make sense for the trade market, but you got to make sure you're still in a buyer situation by the time these talks actually get serious. And with the type of baseball they've been playing over the last couple weeks, we can't say for sure that they are going to be in that situation. I think they will be, but we can't say for sure that they're definitely going to be. A nice series win here would go a long way.
Yeah. So Sagano, you mentioned him. He's been their best guy, but he hasn't been like amazing. 4.92 Ks per nine this year for Sagano. He's not striking out anyone. It's he's trying to keep the ball on the ground. He does that with his splitter. Yep. It's a splitter, sweeper, cutter. He also throws a four-seamer, sinker, and a curveball. It's kitchen sink from Sagano. But this is kind of a similar situation to what we talked about with like Kumar Rocker a couple of months ago, where it's like, okay, this guy isn't missing bats at all, but you're also not doing a ton of damage on pitches inside the strike zone. So like something has to give. I haven't looked at their numbers, the Mariners' offensive numbers lately on pitches inside the strike zone. But again, this is a guy that's pitching to contact a lot. So hopefully the Mariners can generate quite a bit of quality contact. Like I mentioned earlier, Julio is someone that needs to hit the ball hard a little bit more consistently this year. So maybe he can get that started tonight. That'd be nice to see. All right, that is going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. For Colby Patnode, I'm Titan Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Titan Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.